Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Baddies Bazaar. We have a lot more people. One moment. Back to my channel. I am Baddies Bazaar. We have a lot of new people. Thank you so much for subscribing. One. Two, we talk about everything on this channel: books, TV shows, movies, just all the nerdy things, comics. We're about to get into it all, so do not be surprised about a YouTube video breaking down Ninjago, a YouTube breaking down a video breaking down Ben 10. Like, we are in this now. Like, comment down below what you want to talk about next and we will get to it. So what we are thank you guys so much for all the love on my Wicked videos. The movie's coming up, so I know a lot of people are looking it up. So thank you guys so much. I honestly was just really excited when I read the book at the beginning of the year. Y'all, thank y'all so much, and make sure to like and share and subscribe and comment and everything. Really helps us grow. Let's get to growing. Let's get us up there. I want to get to at least 1,000 subscribers before the year is up, or like before Valentine's Day or something like that. I know a ton of people like books. Let's just get nerdy, you know what I mean? This is the channel for the nerds. So without further ado, let's get into the new book we're talking about. Now, this book was all over TikTok. This book was all over YouTube. This book was all over my Pinterest. The girlies would not shut up, especially the enemies to lover girlies, the fantasy girlies. They would not shut up about this book series. Give me a second to drink my tea. Cinnamon apple for fall. The girlies would not shut up about this book series. And when and then I would see like all the thirst trap videos and stuff like that. I read a mix of everything. I am no better than someone who reads smut all day. Like, I read everything from smut to fantasy to the classics to Russian literature like the Brothers Karamazov. Like, I read everything. So like, who am I to judge? Unless you're a Colleen Hoover fan, then I'm judging you. But I was just like, okay, let me check out this book or the series. Y'all, bamboozled, shammed, scammed, catfished, all of the things. Because after reading this book series, I cannot see the hype. And the book series is the Acotar series, the A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it's so funny because it sounds like Avatar, so anytime I was trying to talk about it with other people, they were like, oh, Avatar, and I was like, no, Acotar. But it's whatever, it's okay. So even like some coworkers of mine were reading it too, so we like kind of all read it together. Y'all, let me show you what I done did. Book 1, 2, book 3, 4, 5. Getting the thumbnail now. Y'all, I bought the whole series. The whole series. Like, not even because it was good, but to see what people were talking about. I was like, oh my gosh. So it just insanity. So I'm buying the books, and you know what, they were fairly cheap at Target. Like, every book was either like 12, 13 bucks, and that's cheap because the first book I bought, I believe, was like $18 at Barnes and Nobles. The first book. And the first book is the most cliche book. Honestly, this is mostly a rant about the Acotar series. I might do like a mini breakdown, but like, I'm so tired of even just thinking about the series because there was little to no substance that I don't even want to break it down. Like, I was writing the summary for book 1 to tell y'all all today, and I was just like, really? Like, it's essentially, okay, breakdown. Book 1 is it's basically Beauty and the Beast with fairies. Book 2 is like an enemies to lovers. Book 3 is basically just more about the enemies to lovers relationship. Like, the enemies are now officially lovers, and they've got to fight a growing conflict. 4 is like those beach scene episodes in animes where it's just to like show the holidays are coming up and they're bonding, but it did nothing for the series. Like, it did nothing as a whole. And then the last book, book 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, book 5 was everything I wanted the whole series to be. It had the smut. It had the enemies to lovers. It had the fairies. It had the fantasy. But it was with new characters. The story I wanted to read in Acotar was about the new characters. But you had to read the beginning books to even know who these people were. So I really felt like my time was wasted. Honestly, I mean, I know. At the end of the day, babe, it's a book. It's a series. If you don't like it, don't read it. It's whatever. But like, I pay taxes. I can have an opinion. You know what I mean? Like, free will. So I'm going to complain. This is my channel, you know? I'm going to complain. And I just feel like my time was wasted. The last book was everything I wanted it, like, the series to be. I will just keep picking up the last book. It was about women empowerment, women learning to protect themselves, women healing from trauma and stuff like that, and fighting and learning to trust a man. And then, you know, you got the sexy parts. That was the last book, and there's another one coming out, so I at least got to read it to keep going. Now I'm just doing it out of circumstance. I'm stuck in the series as a circumstance to say this better be worth it. But my time was wasted. That's all I'm going to say. Like, my time was wasted. If you were thinking about something deep, something super, like, basically like when I broke down the Wicked series, like, it is just so many symbolisms, and you could break it down and analyze it. This is not it. It's very face value. It's very tip of the iceberg. And you know what? That's okay. That is for a certain type of person. If you are a avid reader and you read like all the subjects like I do, this is going to seem like nothing. Like, it's just going to seem like nothing. But if you are someone who's just getting into fantasy, getting into romance, getting into a little bit of smut, because baby, they basically ain't got nothing in there that's like black, like crazy until the last book. Like, the first few books are just like, we did it. We had relations. Or something like that. Like, we kissed. He took his shirt off. He kissed my belly. But like, to be like R-rated, don't get to the last book, and you have to read the other books to even know who's in the last book. So for newer readers of this type of stuff, I think it's okay. For new readers, I think it's actually good. Like, the first book and the rest of the others, I would say, it's like a world building. Like, she's building the world, she's setting up the other characters and stuff like that. Like, it's just a world building. But do we have to world build for 4 books? 4 books, and one of them shouldn't even like be a book. Like, it was just like a break. Like, it was a break book. Like, no one had to read that. Like, it was just to pass the time. So if you're someone new getting into stuff like that, I think it's actually really good. I didn't hate it. I honestly really liked it. I just was mad that I thought there was going to be like so much more, and there wasn't. That's the thing. I was expecting so much more. From the way the girls were going crazy. And there was Club Tamlin, and there was Club Lucian, and Club Rysand, or Rysand, however you say his name. I thought there was going to be like so much more. Baby, there's not. And Sarah J, is it her name? Sarah J Moss. People said read her other series, like the Crescent Moon series or whatever, like the Crescent series. They said those ones are like better. But that was after I read these and invested. So I really just feel like my time was wasted. So that's kind of a breakdown of what I'm feeling. There is a new one that's going to come out sometime next year. If they let books print after they're trying to ban them, you know, in the US. I'll definitely read that one just to keep the story going. But overall, time was wasted. I don't want to just give a rant. I'm going to give a little something. I'm going to break down a little bit of the first book. But baby, it's essentially Beauty and the Beast, but we changed the names around, and they're fairies instead of like whatever they were in Beauty and the Beast. It is one of those books that comes with a map. So this is the world. This is their fairy world. We have the mortal lands that are down here. That's where like all the humans are. We have the fairy realm, which is basically all this. So it's all humans to it's all fairies to humans. Prithian is basically the name of like the whole fairy continent. And then this is like where all the humans live. That's all fairyland, and this is just human land. Like, that's crazy. So like basically in this world, like thousands of years ago, fairies used to like own humans as slaves. As someone who's descended from slaves, yeah. Fairies used to own humans as slaves, and there was civil war about like freeing the humans. So they did essentially free the humans, and then like the bad fairies who wanted to keep them either got banished or they just made laws now. Like there were some humans who made laws and with fairies. So the humans were able to actually kind of defeat the fairies in a way. A fairy, like some fairies like betrayed other fairies and gave humans like secrets about what they could use to defeat the fairies. And so the humans were able to kind of defeat them, push them back, get a little bit of autonomy, and they make like a treaty with humans. So they're gonna have this wall up, all the rest is gonna be fairyland, and then the rest is human. And if anybody breaks that treaty, like either they could just go to war or something like that. That's essentially what it is. But I'm like, dang, that's a little bit of humans. That is so small. But each fairy realm, so it's not just like, oh, this is all fairyland. There is like a court for each season. So these fairies are like seasonal ones. Kind of like think of Tinkerbell, Pixie Hollow, very cute. They're not little though, they're like huge. You know, there's like different lore about what different fairies like look like and stuff. They come in all shapes and sizes. And so there are different courts. There's the spring court, summer, autumn, winter, and then you get the dawn, the day, and then the night court. And I thought that was super cool because then we're not just doing, you know, elements. We have like day and night and stuff. So yeah, there's like this little wall, and if anybody like crosses it to try to kill each other, they could go to war. That's pretty much it. Like in the world, that's pretty much how it's built up. So incoming the intro to our main character. Her name is Feyre. I say Feyre. It might be Fair. I'm gonna say Feyre. And if it's wrong, you can just tell me in the comments. Feyre is, I think she's like 20 or she's in her teens. Feyre is a human girl, and she is the youngest of two sisters. So she has two older, Elaine and Nessa. And they all live with their father in like a humble cottage. Her father actually used to be like a rich merchant. Like he was one of the richest, but he actually like lost a lot of cargo that belonged to other rich merchants. So his family got like shunned and kicked out of rich society. And because of that, Feyre never like learned to read later on. Like when it was time for her to finally go to school, they were poor. So Feyre is like the only one who's not educated as well. So her other two older sisters got to go to school and be educated and stuff, but she did not. So in a literary sense, or academic sense, she's not capable, but she's the one who provides for the family. It's kind of giving Hunger Games, like it was giving Katniss. Not my tummy. It's giving Katniss in the Hunger Games because she's providing for her family, her sisters, and her parent, who definitely could do it for themselves. Not Prim though in the Hunger Games. Prim was little, but like her mom definitely could. I just know her mom was depressed after her father died. Back to the book now. Yeah, she is like, she goes out and hunts and trades like animal coats with other merchants in the town, and you know, gets her family like food and a little bit of money, and her sisters take all the money. A little bit of Cinderella too. Like, they're not necessarily her evil sisters. They're not evil to her, but they definitely don't do anything to help. And to be, as an older sibling, I just could not imagine that. Like, my every thought is how I can like help and provide for my siblings. So to literally not do that for your own is crazy to me. Like, to let the youngest do it, I get it if maybe they were disabled or they were neurodivergent, um, or maybe they had their own families to take care of or something like that. But they were all able and well, and especially because they had more academic capabilities than Feyre did. They could have gotten jobs reading and writing, and they didn't. But they had their little sister go out and hunt and stuff. So I'm just like, that hit me in the wrong spot. That kind of irked me. That's the first thing I didn't like about this book. I was just like, your older siblings are not helping you? That's so weird. And then her father just lays around sad all day because he lost their money. Their mother did pass, of like an illness, but her mother, the way she describes her mother is her mother was very like just strict and reserved, and like she had the pants in the family. Like, she was the one raising everybody, she was making the orders. The father just made the money, but she ran everything. And she loved her oldest sister Nessa more than the rest of them. Like, she raised Nessa up, and then she passed. So she feel like she never really knew her mother or didn't see her in a maternal sense. So their mother did pass as well. Um, but Feyre going out and hunting one day for her family, she ends up killing a wolf who is like so huge, and they know that like the fairies in this world can like turn into animals as well. So there's always talk of like, be careful when you go hunting so you don't run into a fairy or something like that. Even though there's been no sightings of them coming across the wall, because then that breaks the treaty. And Feyre goes and hunts, and she runs into this huge wolf, and she's actually able to kill it. And she's able to sell the animal pelts and sell the meat and stuff. So, but she's also afraid too, because they have that treaty. If you end up killing each other, you can go to war, or they can kill you on the spot if they want to. That very night, another wolf like literally breaks down like Feyre's door, and he's like, who's the one who killed my comrade? And then that's when she's like, oh dang, like I really did kill a fairy. Like, she thought, but she was like, maybe no one's gonna come because no fairy's been spotted across the wall in centuries. And so, but a fairy does come. And so he's like, okay, either I can kill you, or you have to come essentially across your human, like the wall, to live in the fairy realm for the rest of your days. And he didn't say it not as not to die, not to get tortured. He was just like, or you can just come live with me. And she was like, honestly, because they've been like lived in poverty, she was like ready to die. She was like, I'm tired of providing, like, you know what, take me out. But he was like, no, you can come live with me. So he takes her away. Her family does not fight for her or anything. Like, it was insane. I was like, y'all just gonna let this fairy take her? Y'all not even gonna put up a fight? Like, it was crazy. Trash. Honestly, trash. And Feyre gets on his back, and they go to the fairy realm. Now, she falls asleep when he's taking her, but she wakes up in like a castle. And it looks like spring all around. So she is actually in the spring court. And the fairy who took her, who's the wolf, his name is Tamlin. And Tamlin is going to essentially be our beast. He's going to be our love interest. And so she just ends up noticing that, like, Tamlin is, like, strangely nice. Like, he's not rude, but, I mean, he's a fairy, so she's just, like, they don't have any feeling. Like, they're just killers, or they just have more heightened senses than us. They're more evolved. So, but he is just, like, walk around, do what you want, but, like, you're just going to live here now. And she's like, you're not going to kill me? But there are fairies there who do try to kill her. Like, there are scary fairies and other type of beings who do try to lure her and like eat her. He does protect her though. She does meet his right hand man. His name is Lucian. Everybody loves Lucian. He's red hair. He's cute. But Lucian always likes to crack a joke. He's like the comedic effect. Tamlin's pretty stoic and serious, and that's because he's actually the king of the summer court. His family passed like in their last war with the humans, so he is just very stoic and serious because he's the ruler of that land. And the strange thing about everybody in the Spring Court is they are wearing masks, like masquerade masks, and they're permanently like sewed onto them because they all were put under a spell. They were trapped by somebody, and we'll learn about them later. But that's what kind of happens for the next couple of weeks or months is she's just wandering around, learning more about fairies, learning how like different and not different they are from humans. And her and Tamlin just like grow closer, but it's nothing like he kissed me or anything like that. Um, there is a festival, like a fairy festival that comes up that she's told not to go to, and she goes to it anyway. It happens at night. And what this festival is essentially the king of the court has to go mate with another fairy to, I don't know, make a successor, or he gets like more power from it. Like whenever the king's aroused, his people get more power or something like that. Like the more power he gets, the more power his people get. So that's what happens. Feyre ends up going, and she almost gets like taken by two fairies, like assaulted. But one saves her, and he's this dark, brooding fairy, and he's like, "Aren't you lost?" It's basically, "Are you lost, baby girl?" Like it was like, "Oh, girl, you're about to get taken." But luckily, Lucian saves her from this fairy, but we will see him later. But Lucian comes and saves her, but he's also like, "Why are you here?" Because Tamlin's been having feelings for her, and he's feral right now. He is essentially thinking of going after Feyre, but if she stays in her room where it's locked up, he can't get to her. And so she makes it back to her like room, but he almost gets her. I was like, "Girl, run. You are in danger." So that whole thing happens. We wake up the next day, everything's fine, but Feyre knows they're not telling her everything. Like she knows Lucian and Tamlin are not telling her why she's really there instead of killed. If they don't care about humans like that and they used to have slaves, like why are they keeping her? You know, she's really just like, what's going on? And there's I forget what happens. Like, y'all, it's really a lot of fluff in between. So I'm just really giving the most basic breakdown. The most basic. But push come to shove, Pharaoh is on her way home. Like, he lets her go home because he ends up having feelings for her as well. So he's like, "I wouldn't want to keep someone I loved locked up. So I'm going to let you go home." Again, that scene from Beauty and the Beast, where she gets to go home and her father gets freed, but then something happens to the beast, so she has to go back and save him. That's what ends up happening. So Fairy's almost on her way home, like another fairy sends her home, but then she ends up learning that another person, the person who sewed the mask onto all the fairies, has Tamlin captured. And this person's name is Amarantha. Amarantha. Now, she is an evil fairy queen from the other continent. I'll show you guys in the map. She's from Hybern or whatever. There was a dark fairy lord back in the day, and his name was Hybern. And Hybern had a second in command, and it was Amarantha. And he would send her out to infiltrate enemy territories. And basically, you know, when it's like keep your friends close and your enemies closer, they would do that. And that's how they would infiltrate and either turn other fairies into dark fairies or something like that. So he sent Amarantha to the Spring Court to take it over. And she did, but she kind of is doing it herself now. She's like, she kind of basically told Hybern, like, "I'm running this ish now. Like, you can run your other stuff, but I'm doing the Spring Court now." And it's because she's actually in love with Tamlin. And Tamlin and her used to fight together in some other fairy wars. Like, fairies have been around for centuries. They live so much longer than humans. So her and Tamlin had a lot of, like, time together. It actually was a little weird because it describes Amarantha as the person who kind of taught Tamlin how to fight. Like, the war his parents died in was because of Amarantha. And I don't know. It sounds like she's much older than him. It's kind of giving pedo. Like it's giving, he was like a teenager in fairy years and she wanted to be with him. And he always was like, no, because he's a child. And she kept putting herself on him, like forcing herself on him. And now that she has even more power, she basically is using that against him and she has him held captive now. Like she's like, either you're my man or like your whole court dies. And so he has to like be her man now, like he's under a spell. And I was just like, ooh. That's the only thing. I was like, ooh. Like, ooh. Just, ooh. I didn't like that. But Feyre learns of this. She goes back to the castle. One of the maids is like, you stupid girl. We actually had a plan for you and Tamlin to fall in love, because if we could get you to fall in love with Tamlin, the spell on us would be broken or something like that. And she was like, well, how was I supposed to know? Like, she keeps apologizing and stuff, but if y'all don't tell people this, how are they going to know? But it also has to be true love. So I understand you can't tell somebody, hey, you're supposed to love them if it's supposed to be true love. You know what I mean? So I understood, but I was still like, dang, if y'all needed help, all you had to do was say that. And so Feyre, all the fairies end up being held captive in this underground castle or something like that. And so Feyre sneaks in and she meets Amarantha. And so Amarantha is like, oh, you thought it, oh, you as a human thought you was gonna come get my man. Yeah, Amarantha was like, you thought you were just gonna come in here and take my man. And Feyre was like, yeah, basically, like I'm coming to get everybody, even as a human. So Amarantha is like, okay, if you defeat, this is for the plot. Amarantha was like, okay, if you can decipher a riddle, you can either decipher a riddle for me or you can do quests, like different quests. So she has to do 3 different trials that like are impossible for humans, because like if she gets impaled she dies. That doesn't happen for fairies. So she gives her one to like crawl out of like a pit that has a snake in it and stuff like that. So every time that happens, she gives her a riddle first. And oh my gosh, let me find the riddle, because it is the most basic ass riddle. So the riddle is, there are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet, and those I kiss, but who tramples me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes land a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. So either Feyre had to figure out what that riddle meant, or she had to go on the trials. And so Feyre's like, okay, give me time to think about it. And while she's thinking about it, she still has to do the trial. So, but if she, let's say if she did trial like 1, but she figures out the riddle, she can still do the riddle and free everybody. So she does the trial while she's still trying to figure them out. She actually beats the first trial. So everybody's like, dang, this human is, she's the ish. Like, this human's got it. Like, she's got the stuff. And this makes Amarantha mad, but like she's like, I'm gonna keep my word. And so every night Feyre has to be locked up and then like in a cage, and then she's like brought out to do the trial or decipher the riddle. So this goes on for like 3 days a week or something like that. So while she's there is a fairy who helps her during the trial, and it's none other than the dark fairy who was at the like that at that party, that night festival, who kind of saved her from the other 2, the one Lucian kind of had to save her from. And his name is Rhysand, or Rhysand, baby, is whatever, I'm calling him Rhysand. And his name is Rhysand. And now Rhysand, we hate him because he's from the Night Court, and apparently the Night Court fairies are the most evil fairies ever. They're disgusting, they're evil, they do terrible things to each other and the people around them, so you stay away from the Night Court. So Rhysand actually is working with Amarantha, and that's how evil they are. They are willing to like partner with one fairy to take over all the others instead of defeating Amarantha and setting all of them free. So he's joined her, and he actually helps Feyre. And he can talk to her telepathically. So he's like, hey, I'll help you during all the trials, and I'll like come and clean you up like after you like have blood and stuff. Because they were just gonna let her bleed out after every trial. But he comes and he actually like heals her. So we hate him, but like this is foreshadowing for the next books. But he does help her, and they make a deal. So he makes a deal to where if he helps her, she has to, what is it? She has to visit him in the night court 1 week of every month. Like he will just come get her out of nowhere because he can teleport too. So yes. So and she's like, why are you helping me? Turns out he is undercover, and he is helping Amarantha to protect his own people. So he's like, yeah, I am here working with her, but it is so she doesn't hurt my people. And he is known as like the fairy hoe. Like he's a hoe fairy. Like he be sleeping around. Like he sleeps with Amarantha and like other people, whoever she sends him to. And the other fairies hate him because of this, and they hate the Night Court because they're supposedly so evil. But he's actually working undercover. Like he's trying to protect his people. Think of Finn or Finnick from Hunger Games too. This is Beauties and the Beast and Hunger Games all wrapped into one. Like all wrapped into one, girl. Like it's whatever. That's why I was like, this isn't original. Like, but it still wasn't bad. So he's like, okay, if I help you on the last trial, you have to like come visit me in the night court every week, like as long as you live, like out of the month. So she's like, okay, whatever. So he helps her, and Feyre is doing the last trial, and she actually wins. But Amarantha isn't gonna keep her word. She's like, but you thought I just had you do that for fun. I was just playing with you. So she actually goes and like stabs Feyre. And everybody's like, dang, she was about to free us. Mind you, Tamlin can't do anything because he's under a spell. So he sees her almost die, but Rhysand comes through and finally fights. He betrays Amarantha, and he fights her and kills her essentially. And while Feyre is about to die, all of the other courts, all the kings from the other courts actually surround Feyre and give her like some of their powers to heal herself. And so she does get healed, and she finally figures out the riddle before she like passes out. The answer to the riddle is, of course, love. Yeah, I know. I thought they were going to be a little more original as well. I was like, maybe it's time. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's something. But I was like, if this is love, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed. Like, it is just a mess. And it was love. So love was the answer. So her and Tamlin's love saved the fairies. And then it ends. So they live kind of happily ever after. Her and Tamlin go back to the Spring Court. She's his queen. They actually decide they're going to get married, but now they have to figure out in book 2 how they're going to get Feyre out of this deal with Rhysand, where she has to visit him every week out of the month as long as she lives. How is she going to go see this dark fairy who everybody says who's supposedly evil and stuff, if she's supposed to get married? And that's book 2. And if y'all want me to talk about all the series, I will. Honestly, it's fine. Like, again, they weren't bad, but it was just so cliche. So I was just like, my time was wasted. I could have been reading other things. But it wasn't bad. Like, I actually enjoyed them. Like, it was fine. But as someone who regularly reads, I was just like, it didn't tickle the right parts of my brain, you know? So that is the end of the book. I know I probably missed like so many other details, but this was just a washover. Baby, it was Beauty and the Beast, but with fairies. I don't know what other detail I could have put in there that would make it sound any better. But it was interesting. It was cute. It's whatever. Honestly, I did like I read the book series in a week. Like, I just, every day I went to work, like there's a Target right by my job, so every time I got off work I went and bought the other book, and then when I couldn't get the other book for some reason because they were out, I would listen to it on a Spotify. And I do not read audiobooks. I do not listen to them. My mind is so loud. Like, if an audiobook's going, I'm like, shut up, I'm talking. Like, so I cannot concentrate with audiobooks, but I went and got an audiobook for this. No. You know, like when you're reading a series and you have to keep the momentum going, that's how it was with this. But yeah, that is the Acotar series. That's it. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below if you want me to talk about the others. I will, but probably not consecutively. Like, next week I'll probably talk about another book series. I've read another one I really like, but guys, I'm waiting to like get more supplies and equipment, because this book series I've read that I absolutely love, and I know you guys will love it too, it deserves a full production. Like, it deserves me having the best mic, the best camera, the best editing. It deserves like quality editing and production, and this book really deserves it, and we will talk about it like later. If you want to know what the book is, just let me know and I'll like make a post about it. But the book series I want to talk about like heavily and break down in great detail, I have to have the right equipment. It deserves the best production. So I'm not going to talk about it for a while, but I did buy some other books. One that was it's called The Apprentice's Assistant or something. And then another one is by an author I loved reading as a teenager, and now they're like writing adult books. Cassandra Clare, if you know, you know. Shadowhunters Unite. So I'm going to read those series and then break those down. But comment down below, and then here and there I'm gonna post like little videos about like favorite TV shows and characters in TV shows and comics and stuff. So we're gonna be posting 2 times a week now. So we're gonna post one long video about a book, and then one kind of quirky, funny video about like my favorite TV series or something like that. Okay? Okay, that's what we're doing now. Hold me accountable, okay? So yeah, that is it. That is the Acotar series. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you next week.